Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The time is 7 p.m. The date is August 27th. This is the emergency special meeting being convened on August 27th to 2025. This is to address concerns from the community around the federal overreach in Washington, D.C. I'm going to ensure that we have quorum, so I'm going to go ahead and do roll call going in numerical order.
Hello, everyone. Vice Chairperson DeCapo from ANC 2A01, the southeast end of Funky Bottom.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tripti Patel, she, her pronouns. I am the chairperson of ANC 2A, but I represent single member district 2A03, which is the bulk of the historic Foggy Bottom.
Hey everyone, my name is Jim Malik. I represent single member district 2A08, which notably for the purposes of this meeting includes most of Washington Circle and the areas to the north and east of Washington Circle.
Hi everyone, my name is Sean Youngstone. I'm the commissioner for 2A09. This includes 2400 and 2424 Penn, Varsity on K, as well as a good number of GW apartments in St. Mary's Court.
Thank you for introducing yourselves, colleagues. Seeing that 4 out of 5 commissioners are present, quorum has been established. We can go ahead and move along with this meeting. Next item up on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. I'm calling for passage by unanimous consent. Thumbs up, everybody good on it? All right, agenda is adopted. Going into the next section, it is matters before the DC Council. I am going to go ahead and yield the floor to Commissioner Youngstone, since the first resolution up is authored.
Hi everyone. So this first resolution is intended as a response to both the federal takeover in DC, the recent encampment clearances that occurred on Washington Circle, as well as to the sort of relatively unengaged status that sort of Brooke Pinto has played since the DC takeover. So there are a couple different asks here. The first is asking for a summary from MPD, the federal government, and DMHHS as to why the tents that were present on Washington Circle, why their residents were informed on Thursday, on Thursday, August 14th, that they had until Monday to move their tents elsewhere, but were then sort of by surprise forced to leave on Friday instead. The second one of these is sort of requesting a more active role from Council Member Brooke Pinto in sort of having a town hall and to sort of openly oppose the takeover of MPD and sort of the district in general by federal forces by Trump. And then the final ask here, we passed a resolution on this back in June, but given the intense crackdown on unhoused residents, I thought it was important to reiterate. The Aston Homeless Shelter, which opened last year, is currently capped at only being able to house 100 residents, despite the fact that it has room for 190. This is due to an agreement that Brooke Pinto signed with the mayor before it opened, and those beds are very heavily needed right now. Especially because people are being sort of forced off the street left and right. The city's in desperate need of more shelter beds, and sort of we would like to see that number be raised to the total number of beds it's capable of accommodating.
Commissioner Youngstone, are you moving this resolution?
Yes.
Chairperson Patel will be the second of record. Do I have any comments or concerns from commissioners on this resolution? Okay. Seeing no, Vice Chairperson DeCapo.
I just wanted to say I support it, and I think it's a good resolution. I thank you for bringing this, Commissioner Youngstone.
Thank you, Vice Chairperson DeCapo. want to attach my comment. I want to attach myself to Vice Chairperson DeCapo's comments. I just want to say I really appreciate you continuing alongside myself and the rest of ANC2A to call for the full capacity of the Aston. I think, especially given the current situation the district is in, it is ridiculous to know that there are 90 beds that are available that people can find shelter and be safely housed as like we are getting through this crisis. And I do know that there has been conversations had. Advocates have reached out to ANC2A saying that Director Teresa Silas of the Interagency Council on Homelessness has, been advocating now that we need to lift the cap on the Aston. So I'm hoping that this resolution will produce some traction and movement on that. So I will go ahead and see if there are any questions or comments from members of the public. If you are a member of the public and have a comment or question on this resolution, please raise your hand and we'll recognize you. Okay. This is going to be last call. If you're a member of the audience, if you have a question or comment for Commissioner Youngstown on his resolution. Okay. I see you. We're going to go ahead and we're going to promote you.
Hi, Sean. It's Laura. Just a quick question. This proposal is not talking about GW at all, right? I came in a little bit late.
Oh, sorry, no, that's the next resolution that's coming.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Any questions or comments on this specific resolution before we go ahead and call the question and go to a vote? Okay, seeing no questions or comments from members of the public on this, I'm going to go ahead and call for a vote. We'll go ahead and do this by division of the House, numerical order. Vice Chairperson DeCapo, how do you vote?
Yes.
Chairperson Patel is a yes on this.
Commissioner Malik is abstaining on this.
Yes.
The matter passes. It is 3 yeses and 1 abstain.
Right.
Moving on to the next agenda item. The next resolution is also under Commissioner Youngstown. I'll go ahead and yield the floor to you.
Yeah. So this resolution is being brought forward in response to 2 DOJ memos that George Washington University recently received. As I imagine a lot of people here are already aware, the Trump administration has been engaged for a number of months now on a campaign of trying to force a large number of institutions of higher learning across the United States to fall in line with sort of ideological demands to essentially engage in surveillance of their students, to provide information about their students to federal law enforcement, ICE, and to a number of other federal agencies that have in the past targeted student protesters on the basis of their political beliefs. And there is currently, GW has not stated exactly what actions it's going to be sort of taking in response to these 2 memos. And so the primary purpose of this resolution is basically to advise the position of the ANC that we don't want to see the university taking any actions that would result in the infringement of rights of any residents of ANC2A, including both faculty, staff, and students at GW University, and also requesting that they sort of treat the safety of the students as an utmost priority.
Commissioner Youngstown, are you moving the matter?
Yes.
Okay, Chairperson Patel is going to serve as second of record. Do I have any questions or comments from colleagues about this resolution? Vice Chairperson DeCapo, you're recognized.
Once again, great resolution that needs to be presented, considering what we've seen with many universities and research institutions bending the knee, sometimes ahead of demands from the administration. And it is good to see this commission take up a resolution to make sure that a entity within our district is not, hopefully will not do the same, as it would be detrimental to all the students that started on Monday. And it would be quite sad for anything their college experience to be destroyed by or ruined by an administration, a presidential administration forcing a university administration to adhere to its ideological dogma. So thank you so much again for bringing this up. Hopefully GW does not do what so many others seem to be doing.
Commissioner Malik, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Youngstoner, for bringing this resolution forward. I plan to support it. It's a very good resolution. As a private university, GW has more rights than a public institution to restrict student speech, but in my opinion, doing so is in almost all cases the wrong decision. So I certainly agree with the sentiment of what you've put forward here. I echo your call for GW to practice restraint in its own actions with how it handles student protests. And I think this is especially concerning given the fact that there is at least one new MPD security camera being installed in an area around the Foggy Bottom Metro that will have visibility, as I understand it, onto GW's campus. I have expressed to MPD my concern about how that camera could potentially be used. And I've requested information about what that information sharing agreement with GW might look like if one exists. Certainly I would hope that that technology is not in any way used to by the university to punish students for their on-campus demonstrations. So that's all I've got to say on that.
Commissioner Youngstoner, I want to, also make a comment. So I have had constituents and residents express deep concern for the safety of the students on campus. They are just deeply worried about students being bullied and harassed while being on campus. I have echoed these direct sentiments to the university leadership. Residents have expressed concerns that they don't want to see National Guard come on the campus. It's not what I want to see. And my deepest concern is that the National Guard does not need permission of our local law enforcement. They don't need the permission of the mayor to go on this campus. And it's frightening. I don't want to see a student, who is trying to not get in trouble, but getting picked on by somebody who is power drunk and wants to sit here and harass a student, and then a student can get tripped up and be charged with a felony. I think all of us have seen the viral video of the man throwing a sandwich at an MPD officer, and they are now treating it as a felony. And I just can't imagine if a student tries to walk away, even if they are not trying to be threatening to someone, but if somebody grabs them unsolicited and a student says, "Get your hands off me," or anyone in this neighborhood says, "Get your hands off of me," then they're going to be viewed as resisting arrest. I have also expressed this concerns to the Office of the Attorney General myself. And I think those concerns are valid. And, even though like the university is a private entity, they are not under the purview of the ANC. this is something important enough that we need to be on record about. So thank you for going ahead and writing it. So I will go ahead and see if there are any questions or comments from the public on this resolution before we call it for a vote. If you're a member of public and you have a question or comment about this resolution for Commissioner Youngstone, please raise your hand and we'll go ahead and promote you.
Hi, yes, thank you. I wanted to say thank you to Mr. Youngstone for bringing it up. I'm a student at GW, and it is really important for students here to just generally feel safe. Our academic experience is so hinging on our academic freedom, our ability to take classes that we want with professors that we want and discuss the things that we want to talk about without fear of censorship. It's also really important for our community to be able to spend time with each other and to, build community here on campus without, any students feeling unsafe from National Guard or from ICE, especially international students or undocumented students. It's just really important for the university to remain separate from the federal government in so many ways like that. And it really is so essential to our experience as students here and our academic freedom and just our experience in general with the rest of the community in DC. I think that being so integrated with the city is one of the best things about GW, and DC is a wonderful city, but it definitely makes more students scared to be part of the city more and, you know, embrace more of the city and broaden their experience here when they feel like they can't leave campus. And now it's even scarier when it doesn't really matter if you're on campus or not. So thank you so much for bringing this forward, and thank you for considering it, and I hope it passes.
Thank you so much. The next panelist to be promoted. Hi, Laura, we recognize you.
Oh, thanks. Clearly I have I guess okay, it doesn't matter. Sean, I just wanted to say as a GW student, this is literally so wonderful. Thank you so much. GW is a spineless institution and clearly they are kind of, fall back to whatever I guess Donald Trump wants. So it's really lovely to see that our neighborhood commissioners are siding with the students because the levels of repression that students have faced, frankly, is like insane. And for the DOJ to say that there hasn't been enough action done against, or that the fact that GW has been indifferent to anti-Semitic discrimination is blatantly unfault. Like it's just not true. Like we've had students not be able to graduate. So this is really wonderful. Thank you.
Next panelist. Hi, Jill, you're recognized. Hi, Jill, you're recognized. I thought I was off mute. Hi, Jill, you're gonna have to take yourself off of mute. We can't hear you. It seems that Jill has stepped away. So we're just gonna go ahead and proceed. If there are any further questions or comments from members of the public on this item, please raise your hand before I call the question and take it to a vote. Okay, seeing no further questions or comments from members of the public, I'm going to go ahead and call the question. Doing this by roll call vote, division of the House, numerical order. Vice Chairperson DeCapo, how do you vote?
Yes.
Chairperson Patel is a yes.
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 Okay, the resolution passes 4-0-0. Next item up on the agenda is resolution condemning federal overreach. And if you could share the resolution on the screen. Executive Director Schulz.
Yes, can we a sec? Okay.
Thank you so much, Executive Director Shellis. So I am not the original author of this resolution. The author of this resolution is the chair of the Home Rule Caucus, which is chaired by Commissioner Trindade Daramo, who is the chairperson of 1B. So he convened a meeting of ANC commissioners to talk about how we as ANCs could use our role to talk, to push back and protect our residents, our constituents in this situation. And so when we were all sworn in, we also swore an oath to protect the Home Rule Act of DC. And so if you can go ahead and pull down the first two whereas clauses, talk about that. It then goes on to talk about the specific section of home rule that the president invoked, where he could take control of MPD for up to 48 hours and declare a federal emergency. It talks about when it started, which was on August 11th. It talks about how we have approximately 800 National Guard here in the city. If you could go ahead and move down. Thank you so much. Keep going ahead and going down. As you can see that there are many moving parts. Some of the things are being updated daily. One of the things that we have talked about is that we are not seeing how MPD is playing, how the weaponization of MPD in this situation is not keeping the residents safe. On top of that, the federal overreach is still withholding $1 billion of your tax money, and it has not still been released so that we can use it to put towards the budget to properly take care of our unhoused neighbors, to actually do the things, fund the programs that actually keep DC residents safe. If you would go ahead and keep scrolling down, I want to go ahead and read the therefore be it resolved clause. So the clause says that that Advisory Neighborhood Commission ANC 2A condemns the federal takeover of the District of Columbia's Metropolitan Police Department and the deployment of federally directed police and the National Guard units for purposes unrelated to an actual emergency, and we demand their immediate removal. And then we talk about what we'd like to see Congress do. We urge Congress to reject any joint resolution saying that we don't want to have it extended past the 30 days. We implore Congress to immediately restore the $1 billion. Vice Chairperson DeCapo and I are from our home state is Louisiana. We have actually reached out to Speaker Johnson. We still haven't heard back from Speaker Johnson's team about giving us a meeting to talk about this. And the last demand is that we would like full transparency around the deployment in the district for engagement and the officers being able to be identified, the arrest criteria, because as everyone in the city has been echoing the sentiment, all of this increased presence has not made anyone feel safe. So I am moving this resolution and I'm calling for a second of record.
Second.
Okay. This item has been moved by Chair Patel. It has been seconded by Commissioner Youngstown. Are there questions or comments from colleagues before I move to members of the public? Vice Chairperson DeCapo.
As with both of Commissioner Youngstone's, Chair Patel, thank you so much for bringing this up. Like you said, we've been trying to contact Speaker Johnson. He hasn't responded, but maybe he will. We'll hold out hope. But it is important that we highlight the need for the $1.1 billion to be restored to our budget. If crime is not, I'm not going to say crime is not a problem, but crime is at a 30-year low. But if the idea is that we should be making DC a safer place, that's just a great place to start, is giving us our tax dollars back so that we can invest it in our community and have people from DC policing DC. I'd also like to emphasize, this is a bit off topic, but these National Guard troops, they don't most of them don't want to be here. They want to be home with their families and at their other jobs. Uh, this isn't what they signed up for. Most people, I thought about doing the National Guard to go to help pay for college. I'm sure that's what many of them did. That's also to say, if you see them around, don't heckle them. They don't want to be here, or heckle them, but don't be extremely mean about it. These are typically working class people who are doing these jobs and and do this for upward mobility. So keep that in mind while you're walking around. But direct your ire at the people at the top who are directing them and using the National Guard as pawns for their own ideological reasons. That's a bit of a rambling statement to say I really like this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chairperson DeCapa. And once again, I want to shout out my colleague, Chairperson Duramo. He is the original author of this. This has been passed already by 3 commissions unanimously. We are one of the ANC commissions that is on the docket. There are 46 ANC commissions. There are about to be half the commissions will pass this. And Chairperson Duramo is in the process of organizing a Hill Lobby Day, and he wants to take all of the ANC resolutions to Capitol Hill and to say the local leaders of DC don't want this. We would like our $1.1 billion back. Do I have any further questions or comments from colleagues? Okay, seeing no further questions or comments from colleagues, I just wanted to make sure that one of the reasons why I'm really proud to stand in solidarity with Chairperson Duramo on this is that we are stronger if we stand united together against the federal outreach. Our residents need us to stand united and to survive this craziness. This is not normal, and so I want to make sure that we are on record. That when Chairperson Duramo, coordinate this Hill Day, which hopefully I and some of the other members of ANC2A can attend, that it's our names. It's this commission that says, hey, we don't want this. So that was all the comments I wanted to say from my end. If you're a member of the public and you have a comment or a question about this resolution, I will go ahead and promote you. Hi, Jill, you're recognized. You just have to take yourself off mute.
I think I'm off mood. Am I off mood? And it's Jill's husband, not Jill. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Joe.
Great. I insist I am not Jill. Anyhow, it's important in the resolutions that they not be, in essence, and when I say political, I don't mean political in that sense, but they not be rhetorical. There is a real interest and a real job that this ANC can do. It can acquire information specifically related to what the president has said is true and which appears not to be true. And we can also prepare a list of remedies, even if it is true. And those remedies should include the money that the Congress has denied us. And I've heard some of the resolutions, and there are people's opinions, and they are the way they feel. And it seems to me that that is not as helpful as it would be to have a resolution that speaks first as to the realities of what has been charged, and secondly, in relation to uh, the monetary need. Let me also say that the sandwich man, the grand jury refused to indict him as a felon. And so it's not entirely clear what justice is going to do. But it's no surprise when they went to the grand jury that he would not be indicted. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead and promote the next panelist, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can, and I didn't want to butcher your name. Is it Anaswaria?
Yeah, Anna Schwar. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to thank all of you for your service and for having this meeting. And I am a resident of Ward 3, and I haven't paid attention to, every single article, every single newscast. However, I'm just really not, this isn't directed at anyone here, but I'm generally outraged at, what has been allowed to go on. I listened to a Ward 3 Zoom meeting with Representative Raskin. I hope I'm getting his name right. Yeah. I don't know why I have trouble with his name, but anyway, I listened to him yesterday, and he was basically saying, and this wasn't his exact words, but that the president really doesn't have any legal authority to have done what he's done. And so my question regarding your resolutions is, do these resolutions go to the council next? Like, how does your work here and your resolutions influence the council? I hope they do. I'm sure they do. But I'm just trying to get a sense of, like, why haven't the so-called leaders in our city, especially our mayor, after today's press conference, like, I just want to understand, like, where's this going? And I'm grateful and glad that you all are having a say and some power here to influence. But I know this kind of is a rambling comment question. I'm wondering if you could speak to that, if that makes any sense.
No, it completely does. And so, and I apologize if I sound like I'm explaining it to you like you're three, and I please don't take offense to that. And the reason why I do that is I, I find that a lot of residents sometimes don't understand like the different layers of what levers people can pull. So the roles that me and my colleagues have, we are advisory neighborhood commissioners.
Yes.
And so as you can see in the title, we advise. That is the only thing that we can do. We advise to our local elected officials who are the district council, like who are the DC council members, the mayor, the entire executive,
Yes.
all the agencies.
Yes.
And we don't create the rules. We just say, we think this rule or this policy is good, or we say the rule or policy is bad. That's all we can do as ANC commissioners. And once again, this resolution, which was done with great care and great thought, was created by Chairperson Duramo, who is the chair of ANC 1B. And he has just really like stepped up to the plate. ANC commissioners across the city have been in communication not only with him, but with each other of, how can we protect our constituents?
Yeah.
And, at the end of the day, the best way I can explain it is, we resisted, then we persisted. And now, as Stacey Abrams has now said, now we are in the period of insistence.
Yeah.
And I am, part of all of this is to say ANC2A is creating a record of insistence on behalf of not only ANC2A, but to be part of a bigger voice for the city to say, we care about the city. We care about the 700,000 people that live here.
Yeah.
And we are going to use our great weight and state for the record, we don't like this. And we don't think the way that this is happening in our city is effective. It doesn't make people feel safe. Everybody, I get phone calls every day from hospitality workers who are terrified. I've been told that people are getting snatched up off the streets.
Yes.
People are getting profiled. People are getting
Yes.
stopped. Clearly, as you can see from my face and my name, that I'm an immigrant kid. My parents immigrated here. I'm not a naturalized citizen. I took the oath when I was 9 years old. You know, I can be profiled. I can be stopped by law enforcement. I have my mother calling me every other day, panicked, asking me to leave the United States because she's terrified that I could get thrown in jail. And I can't even calm or
Right.
soothe my mother.
Right.
You
Right.
know, I mean, there's
And
a lot of anxiety. So
yes, and it's everywhere, and it's basically unconstitutional. Like, we know that. And I hear you, thank you, and I hear that it's on behalf of the constituents. It's on behalf of the residents of DC, because that's not what I'm hearing out there. So thank you. Yeah.
you're welcome. Go ahead and promote the next panelist, please. Commissioner Emeritus Chadwick, you are recognized.
Hi, everyone. This is Luke Chadwick. Thank you to the commissioners for holding a meeting today on this subject, especially in your August recess. We appreciate it. I have a question and a comment. I'm wondering, who is this resolution addressed to?
That's a good question, Luke. So I think my colleagues across the city and I believe we are going to address this to Delegate Holmes Norton, since this is more of a federal ask. But we are most likely going to CC, or it could either be directed to her or it could be co-signed or co-directed to the Office of Attorney General as well, just stating and expressing our sentiments. But I believe in this particular case, the majority of ANC chairs and ANC commissions are going to be directing this letter to Delegate Holmes Norton.
Okay, thank you. Would the commission consider perhaps addressing this resolution to the council and the mayor's team and asking that they advocate on our behalf as well?
We can CC them, but at this point, it is literally it is more, at this point, the only people that can actually effectively prevent another federal overreach situation are members of Congress. And so this was, once again, crafted and created by Chairperson DeRamo. And he did this with a lot of thought.
Thanks. I understand that. I offer my comment because I think too the home rule and the portions of DC code that gives the ANCs their authority, and it's related to the district and the entities here in DC. So I'd just like to encourage the commission to include the mayor's team and include the council, so that we know that this work will go to some folks that have to give it a read. So thank you. I hope you'll consider that.
Thank you. Are there any further questions or comments from members of the public? Seeing no further questions or comments from members of the public on this topic, I'm going to go ahead and call the question and move this to a vote, going by division of the House, going in numerical order.
Yes.
Chairperson Patel is a yes.
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 Okay, this resolution passes with unanimous consent 4-0-0. Thank you very, very much. We are now going to go ahead and move into the next item on our agenda, which is community concerns. This next part of the meeting takes no official action. And so, and the reason why I'm saying that, if I have an ANC colleague that needs to drop off, or if we are in a situation where we lose quorum, it is okay, because there is nothing else on the agenda that requires me to contain a quorum. And so on that note, I have invited stakeholders to be able to address from their area of expertise and their life experiences, questions and comments around what is happening. And so I am going to ask all panelists, all stakeholders, to please raise your hand. If you are from MPD, please raise your hand and we will promote you. I see MPD has raised their hands. The next individual I have is Sakina Thompson from the Executive Office of the Mayor. Thank you. The next group I have is representatives from the George Washington University. I have Chief Victor Brito, and I have Associate Vice President McDonald. If you are present, please raise your hand. We can go ahead and promote you. I have Mr. Howard Garrett. Please raise your hand so we can go ahead and promote you. I have Dr. Jacques Patterson as well. If you are here, please raise your hand. I have Candace Nelson. Please raise your hand. I have DC Shadow Senator Ankit Jain. Please raise your hand. We'll go ahead and promote you. And I was informed during the meeting, Professor Emily Casametos of UDC, director of the Legislation Law Clinic, had to step away. She was going to conduct a Know Your Rights presentation. She had a family emergency, but she has offered to reschedule. So we will have her at a regularly scheduled meeting for September. And while he was not originally listed as a panelist, but I have been saying his name plenty of times. If my colleague, Chairperson Duramo, would like to be recognized and raise his hand, I'm more than happy to put him as a panelist if he would like to speak to some of the questions that may get thrown his way. But if he doesn't want to, I'm completely okay with that too. So thank you to the superstars that have come together. And I really appreciate your grace and flexibility in, accepting all these invites with less than 48 hours notice. But I am thrilled beyond to have you. And so I want to make sure we stay on time. And so for the representatives of MPD, if you could limit your introductions to 2 minutes apiece, and then I will go through the introductions and then I will open up to Q&A.
Well, hello, everyone. I guess that's my cue to step up. It's Lieutenant Howden with Metropolitan Police Department. I am, and as many of you know, assigned to and responsible for PSA 207, which certainly includes ANC 2A. I know many of you have questions and some concerns. I don't know that I'll be able to answer too terribly much of it, but I would like to say that from my perspective, what I tell the officers and sergeants and everyone that works for and with me in roll call, we will continue to do things that we have been doing the way we have been taught to do them and are expected to do them, which are according to policy and established law. And from our day-to-day perspective, there has been no change, but certainly here to help out where I can.
Commander Savoy, if you're able to introduce yourself, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Tatiana Savoy. I'm the commander here for the 2nd District. Just really piggybacking off of what Lieutenant Howden just mentioned. I know we're in times right now where it's, issues that we even really can't speak on. We do not control the federal government. They do not abide by our general orders and our policy. But me also have been telling my members that just to, continue to follow the general orders and the policy and treat everyone with respect. While I have the floor, I know earlier you all mentioned about a crime camera that was set up near the GW campus. And a few months ago, I had sent out an email to all of the commissioners advising you all and asking if there was going to be anyone have any issues relative to that camera being set up. I do have a lot of community that would like to see more cameras set up down in that area. My reason for picking that particular location is crime. The camera is not, and I believe I might have mentioned this to Commissioner Jim, because I think you and I had a conversation months ago about it, where the idea of the camera is not to focus on the campus. We can't do that anyway, right? That is a violation of our policy to have that camera focused towards the direction of the campus or on the campus property. The idea of that camera is to be focused in a direction where a lot of times, historically in the past, we might see crime, maybe more property crime, but then also we have a metro there. And what we found down in the 207 area is that a lot of times where we have suspects that commit crimes, they're going to take the easiest way out, right? And so just based on strategically looking at crime and trying to combat that, these crime cameras, and we also have a general order policy on these crime cameras. We don't sit in front of these cameras and monitor these cameras 24/7. That's not how it works. I am happy to discuss more at another date and time about this camera, because I don't want to, spend too much time talking about the camera. But I just really want to put at ease with, because I see there's a lot of students that attend GW and their concern is that camera. That is absolutely not the case for that camera being positioned there. Thank you.
Thank you, Commander. Next panelist that I need to introduce themselves, if they are here, Captain Hamlin. If Captain Hamlin is not here, I will go ahead and move on to the next panelist.
I'm here. I'm here.
Oh, please go ahead, Captain Hamlin.
Yeah, sorry about that. My phone was asking me questions about signing on, so it was a little bit of delay. Again, I'm Captain Hamlin, everybody. First name Michael. I work in the 2nd District under the command of Commander Savoy. So, and I'm not going to reiterate everything that's been mentioned already. We are going to continue doing our job. Hopefully, we'll continue seeing that crime reduction that we've been seeing steadily throughout the year. Commander Savoy's put a lot of things in place. A lot of support from the team in reference to our thefts, which we have seen a decrease in over the last several months. So we're going to continue our efforts there as well. I do think it's also worth mentioning that the gentleman that threw a sandwich threw it at a federal agent. It was not an MPD officer. So I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that. And again, you can watch the video, just type man throw sandwich, it'll pop up very quickly. But it was a federal agent, it was not MPD. And that's all I have right now.
Thank you, Captain. Next person is Sakina Thompson.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sakina Thompson. I am the General Counsel in the Office of the Deputy Mayor for Health and Human Services, and also Senior Policy Advisor. In addition, I am the Executive's designee co-chair of the Aston Community Advisory Team. And just to back up in my role in the Deputy Mayor's office, I also support our encampment team, which is located out of DMHHS. Thank you.
Thank you, Sakina. My George Washington University representatives, VP McDonald. Ms. McDonald, you're on mute. There you go.
Hi, good evening. I'm Katie McDonald. I am the Associate Vice President for Campus Safety at the George Washington University, which means that I'm responsible for the George Washington University Police Department. I've got environmental health and safety, emergency management, and eMERGE, which is the student-run EMS service here on campus. And I am grateful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President McDonald. Is Police Chief Brito here? Did he want to be listed as a panelist? I see you, Mr. Brito. We'll go ahead and promote you. Hi, Chief Brito, if you want to quickly introduce yourself.
I certainly will. Good evening, everyone. I'm Chief Victor Brito. I'm the newly appointed Chief of Police for the George Washington University. It's an honor to be here. I really greatly appreciate it. Just to give you a little background, I am a retired member of the Metropolitan Police Department. I spent most of my entire adult life here in Washington. My main focus and our mission is to always ensure that our university is safe and resilient for all of our students, staff, and faculty and community members. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to introduce myself.
Thank you, Chief Brito. Next person up is Mr. Howard Garrett. And I want to fully disclose Mr. Garrett is an ANC commissioner from our sister commission. 2G is the vice chairperson. He is not here in his commissioner capacity tonight. He is here as the national committeeman for DC Young Democrats. So I just wanted to say that before you go on.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Good evening, everyone. My name is Howard Garrett. I am in this capacity as the DC National Committee person. DC Young Dems at this moment, we are focused on educating our young people across the state, across the nation, regarding this federal overreach and our rights as DC, as residents, and also as statehood. But in this moment, I think it's more particular as our young people are going back to school, is understanding their rights as federal overreach is entering our communities, as they're going to school, as they're going to work, and what we can do to protect ourselves, but also ensure that we understand our rights as individuals as we go to and from home. Because a lot of people, a lot of residents, a lot of children, a lot of parents are going from home to work and never showing back up. So it is our mission to ensure that everyone understands their rights, but also ensure that we are protecting each other and we are being beside each other as individuals in this community in this unprecedented time. And so I'm so happy to be here. But the most important message that I can say is we all we got, not most grammatically correct, but it's in this moment, we're all we got in this moment. And it takes a community to ensure that in this moment, we protect each other. We ensure that everybody has the resources that they have to go home to their families. And I'm here to speak on that behalf. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you so much. The next panelist up I have is Dr. Jacques Patterson.
Good evening. I'm very thrilled to be here first and foremost. Again, I'm Jacques Patterson, Dr. Jacques Patterson, and I am the at-large member, which means I serve the whole city representative, and I'm also the president of the State Board of Education. I also come here as a parent who have two students that go to school in your ward in Ward 2. And I also come here as a person who served 29 years in the military, 13 and a half years active duty, and the rest of the time in the reserves. So as I look at this, as our kids return back to school, I am very concerned as a parent. I'm very concerned as a veteran, because I believe wholeheartedly that this is not only an overreach, but a misuse of the military. I know as a military member that what I was trained for and what I was trained not to do. I wasn't trained to over-police communities, to intrude on their ability to have a quality of life and not live in fear, or to travel in fear, to take the subway in fear. I also was not trained to pick up trash. and other things. We used to call it policing the base sometimes when we did do something like that. But I was not trained to do that. I was trained to uphold democracy. And I believe what we're seeing at this current time is a true overreach of the current administration at the federal level, the president and the House and the Senate that have allowed these type of actions to happen. And really, at the end of the day, I just want our kids, our families to feel safe in District of Columbia. I believe that what this tells us more than ever is that statehood is the only solution to what the District of Columbia is facing at this particular time. I know we've talked about amendments and different things, but it is statehood that provides the true parameters around us as a community to be able to do the things that we want to do and to elect our officials and hold them accountable for the things that we elect them to do. Thank you. I look forward to questions.
Thank you, Dr. Patterson. Next up is Candace Tiana Nelson.
Hi, good evening. Commissioners, neighbors, colleagues, I am Candace Tiana Nelson, the proud president of the DC Democratic Black Caucus. Thank you for inviting me to speak at tonight's special meeting on the president's DC takeover. I'm here to lift up the impact of this to our Black Washingtonians. In 2011, wearing a different hat as a policy analyst in Mayor Gray's office, I drafted the Community Affairs chapter of the Mayor's Citywide Performance Review, which led to the creation of the Mayor's Office of African American Affairs. In that work, I compared DC to Boston for population and Philadelphia for demographics. What I found then holds true today. Wherever there is a significant Black population, our community faces distinct challenges, such as police brutality and access to affordable housing and healthcare. Today, Black residents remain DC's largest racial group, 286,000 people, about 43 to 44% of the city's population. And yet, though slightly less than half the population, we make up the overwhelmingly majority of those without housing. The 2025 point-in-time count recorded 5,138 unhoused residents, but 75% single adults and 91% of the families were Black. Some studies will tell you Black residents account for 86 to 87% of DC unhoused population overall. This is why the president's approach is troubling. His focus on the unhoused without recognizing the vast majority are Black and without addressing true public safety demands serious acknowledgement. Instead of sending us defenders, military forces trained to combat, I know this because my father, my brother, and all my uncles served in the military. They are trained to defend. We need protectors, social workers, mental health professionals, outreach teams, and community-oriented public safety officers who can build trust and just safeguard, right? Safeguard dignity. So after all that, just remember, nearly half of our DC residents are Black, and we are disproportionately bearing the weight of homelessness, policing, inequities and systematic barriers, and federal intervention must center on protection, care, and community, not force and control. Our neighborhood, we deserve dignity, not displacement, period.
Thank you so much. Senator Jane?
Hi, everyone. My name is Ankit Jain. I'm one of our two senators, non-voting senators in Washington, D.C. As you all know, we don't have any voting senators in Congress, and so the D.C. government has created two non-voting senators and one non-voting representative to be our elected advocates for D.C. statehood, for D.C. home rule, and our elected lobbyists for our rights before the Congress. And so we're in difficult times right now. I appreciate ANC 2A for passing that resolution, and I have to say, I am myself a proud Ward 2 resident, a resident of ANC 2G, and so it's always great to be on a virtual event or a physical event for Ward 2. So, but I represent the whole city, and I'll say that we're dealing with difficult times right now, and I think Howard said that Howard said we need to lean on each other in this moment, and so I hope that we can work with each other to get through this. And so I'll say that my office and me and my team, we are working aggressively to ensure this fake crime emergency ends as soon as possible. We're going to work to make sure that any effort to extend the emergency is defeated. Any effort to repeal some of our local laws is defeated. Any effort to impose some sort of far right agenda on our criminal justice system is defeated. And so we're engaging with especially the Senate, but even the House to make sure that that happens. And we're working with our, especially our Democratic colleagues, to make sure that they maintain a filibuster and don't allow any of these terrible bills to pass. I'm very open. I think we're going to have a community concern period after this. I would love to hear from you if I can be helpful, or just to hear your story about what impact this action is having. I know a lot of people are suffering, but I think our Latino community and our immigrant community is especially suffering in this moment. I've heard, terrible stories from people about the fear and the difficulties that they're living with. And I'm doing what I can to get these federal agents out of Washington, D.C. We always should do more to fight crime, but this is not actually solving the problem. And what we need is a real solution to this problem, not a fake solution to this problem. And so I'm happy to take questions, answer any questions, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Senator Jane. And so once again, we did have Professor Emily Casametos from UDC who was going to do a Know Your Rights presentation. She unfortunately had to leave the meeting due to a family emergency. I will be rescheduling her for our regular September meeting. Also, Shadow Representative Dr. Oye Owalewa had a work conflict. He could not be here, but he wanted to come to our regularly scheduled September meeting. So this is not the end of the conversation about this topic. But, I think all of us who are gathered here tonight, who have offered to speak, definitely want to address community concerns. These are the people to ask. They are literally on the front lines, working to try to keep us safe, trying to make sure that, we all survive this abnormal period that is happening in Washington, D.C. And so before I turn to questions from members of the public, did my ANC colleagues have any questions for any of the panelists before I turn it over to members of the public? If you have a question or a comment for one of our panelists, please raise your hand and I'll recognize you before I go to members of the public. All right. Hi, Lopez. You have been promoted, so you will have to take yourself off mute. And there's also been a request from members of the public to be able to see the panelists. So if you could come on camera, that would be great. But we understand that, it is exhausting to be on camera, but there was a request placed in the chat for our panelists to be visible. So Lopez, if you'd like to speak, you're recognized.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Lopez. Go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, I just wanted to fuck Zionist.
Okay, it looks like we decided to have people who want to Zoom bomb, and that's their right, but they're just going to be removed from the meeting. The next person, panelist, hi, Anishwara, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you so much again to the commissioners and to all the speakers here. I'm so grateful to hear all of you and to hear that there are people, I don't mean to laugh, it's not funny, but there are people that really do care about our city and have been working for a long time to care for people and to stand up for people. And I want to do my part to help. I don't quite know how to do that in this moment. And the question I actually had was for the MPD, because I know that a lot of people have been very scared the situations with MPD and ICE and reports of MPD and being in cars with ICE, and people generally, what I've heard is that people do not feel safe in our city right now. And my question is, well, I don't really know what to ask about that. But for some of the panelists, the other panelists, what do we do in this moment? I don't really know. So I know that's kind of a general, broad question.
Hi, this is Lieutenant Howden, and I feel like I'm probably the one to speak on this. To my knowledge, and I would find it hard to believe if it were true, MPD officers are not riding around in cars with Immigration's Customs Enforcement officers, ICE. That's would be a violation of a whole list of general orders, rules, policies, and established laws. There are MPD officers embedded with the federal task force, and that, for lack of a better term, is a good thing, because then you have MPD representatives helping to impart the maybe we'll say in quotations the right answer on individuals that are in town from other places and who don't necessarily have to follow our rules and policies. So having those members present are creating situations that you probably want out of it. But MPD is not riding around with ICE. MPD is not.
I heard that at a meeting, people that were seeing that, experiencing that, 2 days ago at council member.
Do you have a photo of it? Send it to my email.
I personally don't, but I was at a meeting, a council. If you could just listen, please.
I am.
Council member White had a town hall, and people were outraged. People were afraid. The first day of school, what happened to some of these people in Ward 3 and in other areas of the city. So that's what I know.
Okay, well, and obviously, people are afraid of things, and I absolutely respect that people can be afraid of things, but I also don't want to have us all fall victim to what may amount to fear mongering or gossip and rumor taking over in the face of actual facts. So I am always open to be proven wrong, and if anyone can send me actual genuine photographs or proof that these things are going on, I will personally look into it and reach out to the MPD members involved, and I will ask questions and I will get the answers.
Okay.
But I don't think it's true.
Well, could you please leave your contact information in the chat, and I will follow up on this.
I am technologically incapable, so I can tell you what it is, and the ANC commissioners have it. It is michael.how, D as in David, E as in Edward, N as in Nancy, at dc.gov. Michael.Howden at dc.gov. And the ANC commissioners will tell you that I am as responsive as I can be. And if you reach out to me personally, I will look into what I can look into, and I will get back to you with an answer.
Thank
but like
you.
I say, I don't believe it to be true, and if it is, I'll look into it.
Well, I'm going to follow up on it. Could you tell me your title, please?
I am lieutenant with the 2nd District. My primary assignment is to be responsible for PSA 207, which again includes ANC 2A, West End, Foggy Bottom, and the like.
Thank you.
And then Senator Jane, you can go ahead and respond to the second part of her question, which is how she could get involved, as well as Ms. Nelson and Mr. Garrett. You could also chime in on on how she could get involved, because I know she
Yeah.
feels a bit out of sorts, as many of us do.
Yeah. Well, first, I do want to address quickly the first part of the question, because I have those, some version of those concerns as well. I don't want to, I want to respect that the MPD is in a very difficult situation and officers are trying to do their job in a very difficult time period. But I mean, you've all put it in the chat. What I literally just got out from talking to someone who showed me a video on his phone of MPD stopping someone and then ICE, trying to detain them for deportation. So I'm not saying that they're riding in the same car, but it does seem like they are working together in a way that is troubling to me. And I don't understand why MPD is working with ICE to deport our neighbors who haven't done anything wrong. They're just
Sir.
hardworking people who are just trying to make a living
don't
for
interrupt
themselves.
him.
I can speak to the video if he'd like me to tell him what happened.
Please do.
Let him
Lieutenant.
finish.
Sure. So as I was explained, and I know the officer, he was doing his job, which is traffic enforcement. He conducted a traffic stop, issued a traffic citation, and was done when federal agents pulled up to where he had a traffic stop conducted. And they walked up to him and said, "Hey, are you done? Can we talk to the guy?" And if you watch the video, the MPD officer was kind of behind the curve on the things that were going on. If you legitimately watch him, he was surprised at the events that unfolded.
Understood. And so, I mean, I don't want to get into back and forth on specific incidences. So I'll just say I've heard I've heard instances of this happening, several times. And so I just want to say that I think we need to look into this and see what exactly is going on. I do want to answer Anishwara, your second part of your question, because I think people are feeling powerless in this moment. And there's a lot of bad things about what this president and this administration is doing, but the feeling of powerlessness is one of them. And the reality is, unfortunately, because we're not a state, we have less power than other people would have in a situation like this. And it's just yet another reason we need DC statehood. But I will say that there are things you can do, and I don't want people to feel like they have no ability to affect the events in this right now. I mean, I'm not saying that this is the situation we're in, but you have people who take down authoritarian governments because they speak up and they use their voice, right? And so we have the ability to enact change here. And I just want to give you a few things. There's a group called Free DC. They do a lot of outreach and advocacy.
I'm part of it.
Thank you. And you may know then, Anishwara, that they're doing lobby days on September 4th and September 8th, where we're going to speak to members of Congress. And I do think people in Congress, they don't know what's going on in DC. They weren't elected to represent the people of DC or deal with the problems of DC, right? They know what's going on in their districts. And so we need to get the information to them about what's actually going on. And you have too often people are saying, oh, secretly the people of DC support this. We all know that's not true, but we need to let the members of Congress know what the situation actually is, so that people can't lie about what's going on. And then just explain to them what the impacts are on real people who live here. So I would say the lobby day, September 4th and 8th, I'll put the links in the chat. There's a big rally at Malcolm X Park on September 6th. That's another one to attend. I'll go to as a national rally. So there are things we can do to make a difference, even as this president is trying to make us seem powerless.
I will be there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Jane. I'm going to go ahead and move us along. As you can see, there's so many people that have questions and for our powerhouse panel. Go ahead and promote the next panelist, please. Hi, Lucy. We see you, and I'm just going to ask that you be mindful of the other people that are in the queue. So if you could just ask one question, and we'll make sure that we get the appropriate person to address it.
Yeah, I understand. Can you hear me?
Hi, you're breaking up really, really badly. We can't hear you. We unfortunately can't hear you. Is there
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you a little bit. Just try to, you may have to repeat the question more than once because you're breaking up.
I just need to talk to Ankit Jane.
Okay, the question is for Ankit Jain. Okay.
Go ahead.
Respect to you.
We cannot hear your question for Senator Jain at all.
If you put it in the chat, we can maybe try to get back to it, but I don't know if we're going to be able to make this work via audio.
So you could go ahead and type your question into the chat. And Senator Jain, if he is able to before the end of tonight, we'll orally respond to it. But we are not able to hear you. If you are able to get to a place where we can hear you, we'll definitely re-promote you as a panelist, but we just have to go through everyone else first. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next panelist. Hi, Catherine, you're recognized.
Hi, sorry about that. I was cooking dinner and wasn't expecting, but thank you. Thank you everybody for being here. I have to say, I was following the mayor's press conference today, and I found it just unbearably distressing. It was quite shocking to hear her welcome the surge, to welcome federalization of DC's police, to welcome so many additional officers to be, basically jumping out at people and harassing so many different communities, from young folks, unhoused folks, to in some ways working to harass and abduct immigrants. It's pretty heartbreaking, and I would love to hear the response from folks who work either on the mayor's team or with law enforcement, to hear. Oh gosh, that's not even a question. Can somebody turn this into a question? I would really just like to hear people's thoughts, because I just really, maybe let's hear from Dr. Patterson. I think maybe that would be the right move, to hear what are your thoughts about the mayor's press conference and basically giving cover to President Trump to just do his worst here and to say that she welcomes it and that it was helpful.
Dr. Patterson?
Sure. I always welcome the opportunity to kind of give a little bit of a critique of when our elected officials are responding to the situation that we're in. I know being an elected official can be difficult as you try to balance your responsibilities. But I will say that I was a little disappointed as well. I feel that, there were some very tough questions that demanded some hard answers, because at the end of the day, our mayor is elected by us. Even though she's trying to maintain home rule and not do anything to upset the federal government, to cause any other harmful things that can be done to us because we're not a state, I still think that you have to set a tone that you will not allow this to happen to the residents of the District of Columbia. And I don't feel that was set, that tone was set. She basically, kind of gave very vague answers to a lot of the questions from the press, because I listened very intently to some of the things about, like one of the questions was, this is not supposed to go past 30 days. Are we prepared, and what is your response to if it goes past 30 days? And it was a very vague answer, in the sense of, we will be prepared to do the work that is necessary. Well, what does that mean? Are you going to fight back? Is there something legally that you're going to take? Are you lobbying Congress members, or whatever the case may be, because it would take Congress to approve past 30 days? There was areas where you could say and set the tone, like, we are fighting these things that are happening to us. We're not just going to take them. And so I was a little disappointed. I was a little disheartened in the tone that was taken.
Thank you for your response, Dr. Patterson. Howard Garrett, I saw you had your hand raised. I didn't know if you wanted to piggyback and provide a comment to Catherine's question. I don't know if that was an accidental hand raise.
No, I was kind of piggybacking off of Jock. In this moment that we're in, I feel like we are, I hate to say this, but we're like kind of at war with the federal government. And we, as DC residents, have to protect ourselves because we're, as I said earlier, we're all we got. And so we have federal governments that are with MPD. We can't decipher which is what is going on because we also have MPD going into Black neighborhoods, harassing our community and what's right and what's wrong. And we need to be sure, like in this moment, that we're protecting each other, but also educating each other of what our rights are. And I think that is the most important part in this moment is that we're educating each other because we have residents being picked off the streets. We have kids being picked off the streets as they're going to school, parents as they're delivering DoorDash to our constituents. Like all we have in this moment. And so if we don't protect each other, once the federal government leave, because if you really want to be honest, this is only happening because Trump is doing this to disguise for his faulties and what's going on. So when all of this passes away, guess who stays? MPD. And if we don't have faith in our Metropolitan Police Department, then we're in a terrible situation. So we need to figure that. That is something that we need to figure out right now is how we're going to find faith in our police department when the federal government leaves. How are we going to be able to find faith in the police department to protect and serve the community in which they or have been called to serve? And so this is the dilemma that we have right now. We are in a war with the federal government, and we need to figure out how we can protect our constituents and not being picked off the streets, not being picked off going to school, not picked off going to work. Like, how can we do this in a community effort where everybody is educated to know their rights, to know how to call a lawyer, to know how to know, am I being detained or not? Like, these are the minimal educational periods that we as a community need to get down to educate our community, because if not, this will continue to go on and on and on. And I mean, I hate to sound like a radical, but this is the truth and where we are at this moment.
Thank you so much for your comments, Howard. Candace, you can go ahead, and then I will go ahead and let Senator Jane close out this question.
Thank you. Thank you. One thing that I can say that I did agree with the mayor stating, and this was the press conference before we won the lawsuit, where we found out that, you know, the chief was still going to be in control of MPD, and that was at least one victory for us. But she said that, you know, not to wait for her, that we each, you know, have our own lane. And I do strongly believe that each and every one of us has a lane. We can hop in a lane and we can run and we can fight. And there are things that we can do. Organizations, of course, like Free DC, Defend DC, but also like Harriet's Wildest Dreams, you know, places like that that are really training community members about how to take care of community members in these times. Let the unhoused understand that it is not safe to sleep on the street, that the DC government is ensuring that there are beds available for anybody who wants a bed. You know, ensure that we know how to address people's immediate concerns and that we can take care of one another. Find that lane, hop in that lane, run in that lane, and fight and get to work, because there is a space and a place for each and every one of us in this. So if you are one who wants to go to a rally, go to the rally. If you're one who wants to go to a training, I'm going to one tomorrow. I think that Defend DC is having virtually. I'll look for that and drop that in the chat. But go to that training, you know, so that you can understand. And then when you're out and about walking around, if something happens, you know, protect yourself. But, you know, videotape, tweet, use social media like everyone else, so that the story is shared and you can get the story out, and put positive stories out there too. You know, you're walking past a farmer's market or something, show America that we have nice things in the District of Columbia as well, you know. But at the same time, we are dealing with this very serious issue, as Howard said, this war with our own federal government. And, we are going through it, as best as possible with a smile on our face, but there are numerous lanes for us all to hop into to take some action. Get a lane, jump in it, run in it, do it, make it happen.
Thank you so much for your comments, Candace. And Senator Jane, I'll go ahead and let you close out this question, and then we'll go to the next panelist.
Yeah, Catherine, thank you for your question. I talked to someone a few days ago who's a fully legal, Latino resident of DC, who basically has been almost like barely left his house over the past few weeks because of worries about ICE raids. As a delivery driver whose friends have been picked up, and do I think that it's a good thing what the federal government is doing to people like that? Like, no, absolutely not. I do not think that is a good thing. And so I don't agree that this is making our city better. I think it's making things worse. And so especially, I said it a few times, but really the fear in the Latino and the immigrant community from what's happening here is real and palpable, and it is heartbreaking. And so I don't support that at all. I don't think that's a good thing. What I will say is that I think that we can't just be against things. We need to say, what are we for? Because it is true that crime is too high in certain parts of the city, especially east of the river, but in multiple areas in the city. And so what are we going to do to continue to drive down crime in those areas? And I think if we need to present a positive agenda about how we're going to do this so that we don't leave a vacuum for Republicans and President Trump to come in and say, well, I alone can fix this. And so that's what I would say, is that if we can have a positive agenda on how we can reduce crime and continue to reduce crime, that makes it harder for them to demagogue us.
Thank you so much, Senator Jane. We're going to go ahead and promote the next person so they can ask their question. And thank you, Catherine, for your question or comment, as it was. Hi, Lieutenant Jefferson. I don't think you're an actual member of MPD.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about the underground Zionist tunnels, underground Washington, D.C. tunnels. How will you manage these tunnels, and are they funding politicians like Donald Trump?
This is Lieutenant Howden with MPD. I do not believe that is a legitimate question.
I agree. Edie Shellis, could you go ahead and remove this person from the meeting? Thank you. Could you go ahead and promote the next panelist? Okay. There's no name to you, but you're Samsung, because you're calling from your cell phone.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hey, yeah, this is Captain Hamlin. I got disconnected. So I just wanted to touch briefly. I know we had mentioned earlier that officers are being seen with federal agents. So we are still under the direction of Chief Pamela Anderson. Chief Pamela Smith, and she put an executive order out that officers are obligated to follow. It's our order. So members shall not provide federal immigration agents with information from individuals in our custody. We're not to hold individuals in our custody for immigration agents, and they're not to be questioned while they're in our custody. There is an occasion where an officer, like in the example earlier, will do a traffic stop, and federal agents do show up on some of those scenes, and they do conduct investigations. When that happens, we have to let them conduct their investigation. We can remain on scene with our cameras activated and make sure everything's going like it's supposed to. However, we cannot intervene with their investigation. But I want to make clear that we are obligated to our general orders. And if you believe that an MPD officer is violating our policy, please share that with an official call 911, please send me an email. I did put my email in the chat for everybody. Because it's imperative that, while we work with our federal partners, that we also follow our policies and procedures. And we've been doing that to the best of our ability. This is a trying time for everyone, I think. But we have been effective in that. And again, if any of you see an issue with that, please bring it to our attention so we can look into the incident and determine whether or not our officer made a mistake or committed a violation of our policy. And that's all. I just wanted to mention that to clarify some of those issues. But again, if you are seeing officers in cars, please send us an email. Let us try to identify the MPD officer that's in the vehicle with the federal agents so that we can address it as timely as possible. That's all I had. Thank you.
Captain, I know there's some people who still need to ask questions from the public, but since you brought the topic up, I have heard these reports. I think some of my ANC colleagues have heard these reports as well. We are running into situations where, and I have physically seen and witnessed this, that we are seeing people wear, vests that just say in law enforcement. They're not identifiable. So we don't know if they're MPD or they're federal, number one. And number two, even when they are wearing vests that say enforcement, there's no visible way to see like a badge number. So it's kind of like I think the frustration that you're hearing from the public and why there is a lot of visceral pushback from the public with MPD is that, these law enforcement folks, that's what I'm going to call them, because I don't know if they're local, federal, and it's kind of like they are the ones who are doing the majority of the harassment. I know Dr. Jacques Patterson, has been hearing stories in his capacity about, students, literally feeling scared, going to school because they're afraid that their friends from school are going to get picked up, get deported, or their friend got deported. So like that's number one. It's one of the reasons why I asked Dr. Patterson to be here is because there are at least 2 middle schools in ANC2A. We have a 0 to 3 school here, and we have a high school in ANC2A. And, there is a deep concern that, parents are now not sending their kids to school because they don't want to have to deal with perceived like law enforcement harassing them or their children when they're trying to pick up and drop off their children. I have also, been flagged and been told like, hey, an officer stopped me, people are working in the hospitality industry and, they're trying to just go from point A to point B. They're just trying to keep their head down and earn a little bit of income. And so I know like Captain Hamlin, like, and for MPD as an institution, like you guys are in a tough space, but like it's eroding a huge level of trust because like honestly, a lot of people don't feel safe at all. Like they don't view this increased, presence of law enforcement, whether they're the National Guard, MPD, federal agents, as keeping them safe. Like I'm going to speak for myself, both as in my commissioner capacity and my personal capacity. I don't feel safe. Like I have people who literally are telling me they don't want me to walk home from work anymore, back and forth. I now have people saying like, do you carry your ANC credentials? Do I carry my passport card with me? And at first I would have laughed and thought it was dumb. And now I can't even say that at all, Captain Hamlin. And so I know like when you're hearing all of these, stories, and they're not stories, but these narratives, about what's happening to people. Like Senator Jane is even saying in his senatorial capacity, he is hearing story after story. Candace Tiana Nelson is hearing these stories as the president of the DC Democratic Black Caucus. And I know for a fact Howard Garrett is hearing these stories in his capacity as a national committeeman for, DC Young Democrats, especially like college, like college students on a whole in the district. Like, just no one is feeling safe. And so I apologize. I just really wanted to be very clear about why there's so much tension and pushback when, and I know a lot of it is unfair, but it's also like critical that we are on record about this.
So, and I wanted to say this too, if you're having trouble, like MPD officers still, as they always have been, are required to wear a name tag and a badge on the front of their vest, and on the back it should say MPD. So, and our uniforms are dark blue. Now, some of the other agencies do resemble our uniform a little bit, but ours will say MPD on the back, and every officer is required to have their badge with their badge number and their name tag. They're also required, upon being asked for that information, to provide it. And a lot of us carry cards, so we'll give you a business card along with our badge and name. They're required to do that. So if you're seeing MPD officers not following that, that's something that you need to share with us as well, because we're required to do that.
Commissioner Patel, is it okay if I insert myself and ask a follow-up question of the captain?
Absolutely, Commissioner Youngstown, please go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry, Captain Hamlin. Like it just kind of opened up like the Pandora's box of questions from the commission.
And that's why I mentioned it. Go ahead, Mr. Youngstown. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, so it seems like the message that you and Lieutenant Howden are primarily delivering is that sort of in these cases where people have reported seeing MPD engaging with someone and then that action being followed up on by sort of a federal officer of some sort, potentially ICE, that this is simply the MPD officer going about their daily business, and then federal agents are sort of pouncing after the fact. Given that this has become a prevalent pattern that has been reported on in the Washington Post, that's sort of been observed by like a large number of people in a large number of instances, is there any interest or intention from MPD in changing some of these routines due to the acknowledgement that they are being subverted for actions beyond their intended purposes by federal law enforcement agents?
So I can say right now, if there is changes being made, it's not something that I'm aware of. I can tell you this, that we're, and Lieutenant Howden kind of mentioned this earlier, that we're going to continue, because we're patrol, right? We're when people call 911, we're the ones that respond. Federal agents aren't showing up on most of our scenes. They show up occasionally on different scenes for different reasons, and we don't know why. But they do show up occasionally. But it's not commonplace. The majority of assignments that we go to, the federal agents don't show up. And that's kind of been the theme for the last couple of weeks. Now, is it to say that you're not going to see federal agents and MPD officers on scenes together? I would say that you probably will. And again, we talked about a situation earlier where that was the case, where you had an MPD officer on the scene with federal agents. So you're going to see that. Almost certainly you'll continue to see that. But we, like MPD, is not focusing on immigration. We do have to provide support to the federal officers when they're there, in a sense that we have to stay on that scene and provide support to them. But we are not investigating the immigration status of anybody that we stop. Federal agents can do that. We can't intervene with that. But we're not going to do that ourselves solely to check their immigration status. In addition to that, like I mentioned earlier, if they're in our custody, that's our prisoner, right? We're not going to turn them over to the federal agents. They're not going to be interviewed, and we're not going to hold that prisoner to wait for federal agents to come. Like when that prisoner gets released, they're going to be released. We're not going to hold them for agents. We're not going to tell federal agents, hey, we're releasing this prisoner. They're going to get released like they normally would. and they're going to walk out the front door. And we're going to continue that practice until Chief Pamela Smith tells us to do otherwise. But right now, like Lieutenant Howden said, our job hasn't changed too much. We are still answering runs. We are still focused on crime. Commander Savoy is still kind of focused on these thefts and these theft from autos, and that's, and of course we're always focusing on violent crime, but we have a solid reduction in that this year, and we've continued to see a decline, in our thefts over, like I said, the last couple months before federal agents were even in the city operating. So, and we're going to continue those efforts. We're going to continue to do our best to reduce those crimes. And we're going to continue responding to radio runs to support the communities in 2A and in every other area within the district.
Commissioner Youngstown, was that the answer? Well, did that answer your question or your query?
I don't have any follow-up questions.
Okay, no, because I want to go back to members of the public since we inserted ourselves into the Q&A. Go ahead and promote the next member of the public. Please leave Captain Hamlin on as a panelist. Don't remove him. Hi, Brandon, you're recognized.
Zionist funding to the Department of Environmental.
You could go ahead and remove the panelist, please. Next person. Hi, Malachi, you've been promoted.
Manuel is right.
You could go ahead and remove this person as well. And Lucy. Hi, Lucy, you've been promoted to being a panelist. I don't know if you...
She says she put in the chat have mic issues.
Okay, Lucy, if you'd like to type out your question, we'll go ahead and you could type it out in the chat and we'll direct your question to the appropriate person. Okay, Lucy, just feel free to type up your question and we'll make sure that a panelist goes ahead and addresses it. If there are any okay.
Heat, how was the Rafael shutdowns?
Well, it seems like these meetings love to have Zoom bombers, which they're allowed to have their right to say, but at the end of the day, I need to keep a meeting moving, and disruption won't be tolerated. And Ms. Nelson, you were recognized. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Patel. I wanted to share a unique and clever idea that I had heard from one of my Good Trouble partners as I've been thinking about the different things that I've been hearing. She is a parent of two lovely Brightwood Elementary School students and a leader within their PTA. And Brightwood, very diverse population of students there, high population of Latino students. And a lot of parents have been concerned in taking those students to school. And they came up with this idea. They're calling it like the moving bus stop or rolling, bus stop. But they're letting parents know different locations that they can walk their kids to every day. And then another parent will then take that child from that space to either the real bus stop or to the actual school. But that way, the parent that is afraid or, for whatever reason, they may be undocumented or whatever the case may be, they don't have to go to the real bus stop. Walking school bus. Thank you, Sakina. And good to see you again after all this time. But yes, the walking school bus, that is what it's called. And so that I think is brilliant. It's unique. I had not heard of it before until my good trouble partner let me know. And I think when we start hearing these types of things, we definitely have to begin to, spread the word, let everyone know, so that if it's not happening in your ward, maybe it can, if you spread the word. So thank you.
Thank you so much. If you're a member of the public and if you have a question or comment for any one of our panelists, you can go ahead and raise your hand and we will acknowledge you. Go ahead and promote Catherine, please. Hi, Catherine.
Thank you. Candace, I really appreciated what you just said, and I think you're absolutely right that this is a time for us to be thinking creatively and outside the box. And I know I've heard an idea that it's not a new idea, but I think it's the kind of idea that it's not the same as what you were talking about, but it's another way of being creative in the moment to protect people. And that is making bus fare and metro fare free. And the idea is that the people cannot be jumped and abused in the metro or on the bus if they're not breaking a law, if they don't pay their fare. And we know that in DC, that's not an arrestable offense. It's a civil offense where you get a fine. And yet people have been arrested, people have been harassed, people have been beaten. By allowing federal law enforcement to enforce fare evasion as like a criminal situation, we are exposing people to terrible harms that in the district that doesn't match our own laws. So let's just make the fares free. Let's take this away from being an issue where people are really getting dragged into serious trouble. So thank you for, getting that idea, that idea that we need to be creative. This is a time for us to really think differently about things that we haven't thought about before.
Indeed. Can I just throw out an amen to that, Trupti?
Absolutely. And if he's, I know he's still here, but I don't know if he's near the computer. If I could kind of pivot and ask Dr. Patterson a question, if he's free, he may have stepped right when he stepped. Oh, there he is. So Dr. Patterson, when Catherine is talking about like the fare jumping and about the bus, using public transit, I don't know if you were there. I was one of several hundred attendees at Councilmember Robert White's town hall on Monday. And I don't believe you were there, but your name was mentioned. Please, please don't take like what I'm about to say is like but
okay.
State Board of Education representative for Ward 8. I think her name is LaJoy Lawson. And so
LaJoy Law, yes.
And so she actually spoke very eloquently about like the danger students are facing right now. Because like they're either forgetting like the ride free cards or their paperwork isn't being processed and they're getting picked on. And I'm not aware of that because obviously I don't have any school age children, but I was really deeply disturbed to hear that. And it was a very distressing conversation, because a lot of people were talking about that, and you could see Councilmember Robert White's face, just kind of just like stunned at like the amount of like hurt and emotional like pull that we all had, like you're harassing them like as they're like trying to use public, they're just trying to go to school, and you can
Right.
of course tell the kids, don't forget your card, don't forget this, and they forget. And I know, if I recall correctly, I think she was trying to say like you have to find a way to make this easier. Like, kids are going to forget. Can you make it like digital? Can we do this? Can we do that? Which I thought were all great ideas. But, I just wanted to know, like, you know, how do, like, as far as like the public transit spaces, I see the kids all the time, like when, like they're coming to school, going to school, both on the bus and on the metro. And, I know when I've gone to the DDOT performance oversight hearings, like the parents are echoing,
Right.
like, how do we keep our kids safe? And obviously, I know these are unprecedented times, but I felt like you were the voice I wanted to hear on this particular issue, just because we have so many school age children that go to school here in ANC2A.
Right. So I want to be very succinct about this, okay? Because I have two children. I have a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old. And instead of being joyous about their first day of school, their first week of school, I was very concerned. I can say that I was fearful with my wife because of their skin tone, that they could be profiled and everything like that. I also am aware, very much aware, that systems sometimes don't work the way they want to, that they should. And we have a lot of children that don't have their cards right now. There's been malfunctions, or they're new to the system, or whatever the case may be. And so, but they still would like to attend school. Okay. So let's just say that. And so for us to harass children who should be excited about school, I think is the ultimate trauma. The ultimate trauma that you can do to a child who wants to go to school, wants to see their friends, wants to show off their new clothes, or whatever the case may be, and they're excited about their school. And now all of a sudden, instead of being excited, they're fearful that something could happen. Let alone to talk about our immigrants that are here in the city who may not go at all because they feel like they may be harassed and taken, or whatever the case may be, and parents are not willing to take them to school. So I say all that to say that it should be free. At this particular time, during this period of time, if you are a child and you can recognize that that is a child, and I know there are officers that are on this call with us and stuff like that, fair jumping or anything like that, or evasion, that's whatever we want to call it, we know at the end of the day that the mayor issues DC-1 cards. You're going to be compensated. There should be no more than them be able to just go through whatever they need to go through, the little gate or whatever the case may be, so they don't have to go through the turnstile thing. And they should just be free and just count those kids. And then at the end of the day, let them know how many kids did not have their card or whatever the case may be. We live in a digitally very satisfying time. That's not a hard thing to do. To take account of the kids that come through that may have gotten their cards without harassing them and let them go. Instruct the schools, say if you have not issued cards as of yet, or that every child doesn't have a card, tell them to go through a particular gate and let them through. They should not be harassed. The other thing that me and State Board Representative from Ward 8 also suggested, that any child that is of the age of 15 and higher, just like you can get a driver permit at that age, you should be able to get a real ID. We have people here from other states, from at least 6 states, who do not know what our cards look like, what a school ID looks like. And so if they stop them, one thing that is known throughout the nation is a real ID, because it puts it right across. There's a little emblem on it, on IDs and stuff like that. They should be able to be issued a real ID. So if they are stopped, they can show that and say, this is my age. Not only does it help the child, but it also holds the officer accountable to know that this is an underage child. They are under the age of 18. You should not be detaining them unless you have true probable cause. I feel very strongly about that. Our babies have to be able to turn back to a point where they are joyous about their schools. And our parents need to be able to say, my baby's going to be okay getting back and forth to school, especially now that we're entering sports season. And people don't understand that their sports season, they're going to be out later. They're going to be with groups of kids because that's a safety thing. We tell our kids, travel with a group, travel with your friends after school. And now you're being penalized for the very thing that we teach you to do. Or what about the parent who works late at night and have after school activities, or they need childcare, or whatever the case may be, even for a middle school or whatever case may be. Now they're forced to kind of reschedule their whole day because they're fearful that their child is going to be in the metro system late at night with too many people. I just think this is just horrible. There's no good thing about this. There's just not. We're not safe. We're fearful.
And that is such a sad nightmare and reality we're living in right now. But Dr. Patterson, I would like to follow up this conversation offline. I think this might be an issue I would want to take up and produce a resolution around in ANC2A. Don't know if I'll have time for this, for this regular September meeting, but if we could work together on that, obviously with Dr. Lawson, I'm more than happy to kind of amplify that if it means keeping our kids safe. So there are 3 more members of the public that have questions for our panel. I'm going to go ahead and honor those 3. I want to be mindful and respectful to my panelists and their time and my colleagues as well. So we'll go ahead and go through this, and then I will allow each one of you a minute to do a closeout by the time all questions are finished. Lois Anna, you're recognized. Okay. The next panelist can be promoted. Hi, Jake. You've been promoted. You have to unmute yourself, Jake.
Hey, Jake, we can see you blinking briefly off of mute and then going back on mute again.
And Jake, if you want to type up your question in the chat. Okay. And then the last panelist, Gillum.
And Kitty John, how are you?
Did you have a question, Gillum?
I think this is another Zoom bomber.
Patel,
Yeah, this is a Zoom bomber.
today
Okay.
क्या करनी हो?
All right. Well, it wouldn't be an eventful or exciting ANC meeting if we didn't get Zoom bombed. I just think this is probably the record that we've ever had the most Zoom bombers. But seeing no further questions or comments from the public, before I asked for a closeout, did any of my colleagues on the ANC have any questions or comments for any members of the panel before I asked them to give a minute closeout? Okay, seeing none from colleagues. If MPD is still here, I will go ahead and let you do a closeout. I don't think anybody from MPD is still here. They probably had to leave. That popcorn's to Sakina Thompson.
Hi, everybody. I think I just wanted to say we didn't get any questions about encampments or people who are unhoused, but some on the commission or the public may be interested. So I did want to just give an update. Our office is, when we have scheduled encampment engagements, we are following our protocol to the extent we are not preempted by federal action. In other instances where a federal entity is requesting the services of the district to address an encampment, because we are the ones who are trained, we are the ones who are responding so that we can do the best we can under whatever circumstances there are to provide storage for property, to provide connection to services. But when it is at the direction of a federal agency, we are not necessarily able to follow all of the pieces of our protocol. And I wanted to say that it's becoming increasingly difficult to see who is the lead, because when we get that direction from the federal entity is not necessarily showing up. So it will look like us. And I can appreciate people's concerns. We likewise are concerned and are doing our best to provide as much support as we can in that situation. And I also want to say that the district has opened up over 130 shelter beds, and we are monitoring it hour by hour, and are able to and will be opening up as many beds as we need. No person will be turned away. We have daily updates for that purpose. So I'm happy to answer any questions that come after the Zoom, but I just wanted to share that to the extent that I am able to provide some clarity. So thank you for this panel. Thank you for everybody here. Great to see you, Candace, of course. And anyway, I'm available if anybody has any follow-up questions.
Thank you so much, Sakina. For our George Washington University Community Partners, Vice President McDonald, Chief Brito, if you'd like to both say any closeout comments.
Just thanks for the opportunity to participate. We're happy to be here. We're working with you all, and just appreciate everyone's support.
Chief Brito, did you want to say anything?
I do. Thank you very much. We are grateful for our opportunity to participate, and thank you, Commissioner. Looking forward to having more fruitful conversations. So thank you again.
Absolutely. And Howard, Garrett, if you are around, I know you're probably popping in and out of things, but Howard, if you wanted to share any closeout thoughts, you are welcome to do so now.
Sorry, I can't come on cam, but only closeout thoughts I have is like in this moment, I think it is very, very important that we realize how important community is, and that we realize how we have to have each other's back in this moment. We have to protect our neighbors. We have to protect people we don't know, because in this moment, we're in times where we don't even know how to put one foot in front of the other. So it's important that we protect each other, protect our neighbors, provide resources, and the importance of what community is what we're living in this moment. That's all I have. Thank you so much for inviting me. But importance of community is in this moment right now.
Dr. Patterson, would you have any closeout comments or thoughts?
I'll just say this. First and foremost, I want to thank your ANC and you for inviting me this evening and to be part of this conversation. Secondly, what I will say is that the individuals that are on here themselves, they live in the district. We are DC. We know DC should be ran. We are the community, and that at this particular time of federalization of our MPD officers, which are put in particular situations, and bringing in outsiders as far as troops and things like that that don't know the nuances of the District of Columbia, it is our time to truly be a citywide community and to stick together and stand up for each other. We have to more than ever, since this is national news, keep promoting that statehood is the only resolution to this situation at this particular time. There are not alternatives to this. We have to fight harder than ever to get statehood for the District of Columbia. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Patterson. Candace Nelson, if you have any closeout thoughts, comments to share, please do so now.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this conversation. Chair Patel and all the commissioners from ANC 2A. This has been a pleasure to, just be with all of you tonight. Let me just say, bottom line up front, federal investigation must not criminalize poverty or material, just public space, nothing. It is, we should be investing in care, housing, true community safety for all of us. That is where our investments and our time need to be. So find your lane, get in your lane, let's run. I'm gonna see you out there.
Thank you so much, Candace. And Senator Jane, I will let you have the last word on the panel.
Yep. Thank you, Tripti and Jim and Sean and everybody else for organizing this and for the resolution you passed. I just put my email in the chat. And so I ask if you have any questions or concerns, if you just want to share a story, please feel free to reach out. I think it's very helpful for me and my advocacy to hear from people on the ground about what's going on. And so would love for you to reach out. And let's continue to keep up the advocacy for DC. And I talked about kind of the advocacy within DC, but you have friends and family. I know many of you have friends and family outside of the city. Make sure that they know what's going on and how it's connected to DC statehood and why our lack of statehood is causing this to happen. And tell them to call their member of Congress and their senators who actually have votes and say, tell them to vote against any of these bills that would take away our rights and vote for the DC statehood bill. The only way we're going to get through this is together. So, and I believe that we will get through this in the end. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Jane. And I just want to say thank you to all of you who cleared your calendars, made time, space for this conversation, to take questions and listen to concerns from community members. I am deeply, deeply appreciative of it. And, in this heavy time, I want us to all remember that joy is the greatest act of resistance. And we are going to get through it because we are DC. We are resilient, we are strong, and we are powerful. And don't let anyone rob you of your joy. Just look out for each other. If you see someone walking down the street, smile, say hello, because we're all just trying to keep our mind clear, and we can all use a strong dose of kindness. So if you just can look at the person who's walking down the street next to you and just smile and say hi, just look out for each other, because at the end of the day, it's us, the community, that keeps us all safe. And so, grateful to my colleagues for clearing their calendars. I know it was a struggle to get as many of us here today, but we did it. So thank you. But we know we have a lot more work to do in the next coming couple of weeks and months. Just making sure that our residents know that we are advocating for them. And I look forward to doing this work with all of you. And so on that note, there being no further business to conduct, the time is 9:08 p.m. and ANC 2A is adjourning this special August meeting. The next meeting is Wednesday, September 17th at 7 p.m. It will be taking place virtually.
Thanks,
Have a good
everyone.
night, everyone.